Cool, we're back for round 2 of the Legacy Challenge, currently 1-0, and we won the die roll, so we go first. That's a good hand. It doesn't have a black source yet, but it has a couple of cantrips to find one, has disruption. So really all we're looking for here is, we need a little bit more mana, but since the Storm is a deck with a ton of mana, like over half the cards in your deck are mana, you're pretty likely to draw it naturally, and I mean, this isn't that fast of a hand or anything, but it's definitely keepable. And then obviously we need a way to actually win the game, a payoff of some sort, but we play a lot of those. So I'll lead up Period in here. Lotus Petal, Tropical. So Lotus Petal is interesting in the sense that it is a black source, but I think that we're supposed to bottom it still. Again, because I tend to bottom mana pretty aggressively when looking for a tutor effect. Because just so much of the deck is mana that you're pretty likely to naturally draw it. And also, being able to draw a black source here would be way better. Alright, Ponder. So this could be Delver, it could also be Sneaky Show. This is a start that both of them would have. Could also be the Mirror, or used to be maybe Miracles, but they're not playing as many Power Blasts anymore, I found. So I'm going to play Lotus Petal here, because if they daze me, I would pay for it. I'm pretty aggressively going to cast this Brainstorm, because I just need to get something going, I think. Oof, missed. Okay, that's okay. So we'll hide Dark Ritual, which is probably going to be our most powerful card. And then we're just going to Thoughtseize our opponent because they might have a creature that we want to take since we're brainstorm lock this game, so it's going to be a while before we can do anything. Alright, so they are playing Delver, and they have a Wasteland, so that's a little bit of a bummer. What do we take here? So we have 2 more discard spells, but the problem is that we're pretty likely to get Wastelanded. We could just take their Brainstorm, but then that makes them more likely to Wasteland us. So I think I'm just going to take their Force of Will and hope that they want to Brainstorm plus Fetch this turn and don't Wasteland us. And then we get to rest them again the next turn. Because then we can take whatever they Brainstorm into, is my thought process. Because I really don't want to get Wastelanded this turn. Looks like it's going to happen anyways. Okay. That's still mostly okay, because we have like the 2 Lotus Petals, but... And our opponent's hand is like not that great, but they have a Brainstorm, so it can become pretty good pretty quick. But we're also really close to winning if we draw an Infernal Tutor. And they're not putting an enormous amount of pressure on us yet. Like they're at least a full turn away from casting Extruding Nemesis, which in and of itself is a slow clock against our deck. So, and we know we were going to draw that because we're Brainstorm locked, so we're just going to pass the turn again. And they're going to add a turn Brainstorm here, which I expected. So their hand could become a lot better now. They've had 2 draw steps, I believe, plus a Brainstorm, and this is going to be their 3rd draw step. So a total of like 6 new cards will be seen. So I'm going to leave this up here because they are cards I know about, but I don't imagine there are very many of them. I think all 3 of these cards are cards they could shuffle away with this fetch land, put it back with Brainstorm. So. They might just bolt me here. Nope. Our hand is still strong though, especially if we could draw like a Swamp and Infernal Tutor. We're definitely gonna win this game, but that's a big if because we don't have either of those cards at the moment. We're in 6. Okay. Not the most potent threat, but is a card against us. They're probably just gonna waste on a Volcanic Island. That's fine. It's not really our bottleneck right now. I mean, we would have liked to have those 2 lands in play just for mana reasons, but they're not doing a ton for us. Alright, there's another Duress. Not exactly what we want. So this is one thing that sometimes happens with Storm is you get kind of bogged down with these discard spells, but I did Brainstorm fairly aggressively, so maybe I was supposed to wait on that, but the problem was that I wasn't sure if my opponent was playing Sneak and Show or Delver. So against Delver, I'd probably just keep waiting, but against Sneak and Show, you kind of need to start going, because they can combo kill you. And there's a Tarmogoyf, so that adds to the clock, and they have their Wasteland again. Yep. So I imagine that they don't have all these cards anymore. Past in Flames. Okay, that's an interesting one. Not exactly ready to start using Past in Flames yet, although it's pretty close to winning the game. I'd like to wait until maybe we can cast a discard spell first. We do have to keep this Bolt in mind. That increases the clock slightly. Yeah, so interestingly, they're going to leave a Wasteland here rather than a blue land. I think I probably would have left of a blue land is we don't have we don't have a card they could wasteland, but that maybe tells me they don't have lightning bolt in their hand anymore. All right. Might be time to go now. They're tapped out, so I think I like going for a reasonable amount here. It's a little awkward if they force a will or Dark Ritual. I'd probably just end up passing if they did that. Because then we need to get there on one preordain. They're thinking about if they should force will this. They're going to. Force pitch days. Alright, I'm down to wait another turn, I think. We have a lot of really good draws, so. Bad against Spell Pierce and stuff, but there's no way they have Spell Pierce because they tapped out of Spell Pierce that turn, so it just wouldn't make sense for them to have it. But now I kind of do need to go for it because they can ult run in 6. They could also have Hardcast Forceful up now, which would be a little bit annoying, so maybe I was supposed to go for it that turn. It's really hard to say because I would have had to get there on one preordain. But now, obviously, I can't wait because I'm dead on board. Cool. So I would have gotten there on the preordain. Let's Dark Ritual and hope it resolves. It did. So now we can duress our opponent. Yep, Bolt Me is fine. Take their Spell Snare. And we win the game. So here, make sure my keyboard's plugged in. We can Infernal Tutor, holding priority, cracking for red. And we can do that trick I kind of talked about in the last match where we're going to go get a Cabal Ritual. Cast it, and then flashback Past in Flames and win from there. So kind of showing the power of Past in Flames. It's obviously a really broken card, but it's also right. I think the Delver matchup's pretty strong normally. They have hands that you can't ever beat, but opponent had 2 Forcibles and a Spell Snare. But the thing is, Delver doesn't really actually have that fast of a clock. I think the games that it wins most often, in my experience, are the games where they wasteland you and you don't ever get to play Magic, at least in this matchup. And so if you can assemble an Island plus Swamp, I feel pretty favored in most games, for sure. But my opponent had 2 Forcibles a daze. They had a pitch daze to Forcible and a Spell Snare, and it's still was able to get there. So in this matchup, I like the Empty the Warrens and the Abrupt Decay, and I like to shave some of my more expensive cards because they're not great against Stop Permission, especially Ad Nauseam, because by the time you can cast it, there can be a lower life total because they do have creatures. So it's casting Ad Nauseam through a Spell Pierce is not easy. It's 7 mana, plus you want the mana to win afterwards, so it's really more like 8 or 9 mana. And then they're going to be attacking you with Tarmogoyf or something by that point. I like to bring these in. They can kill Delver Secrets or Tarmogoyf. They can also just destroy a Null Rod or Grafdigger's Cage or Cinder Vines. Different cards that people like to play, so. And then Past in Flames is fine. It's just can be awkward to draw if you get your Volcanic Island wastelanded or if your opponent has a Grafdigger's Cage or something. So obviously I would never cut the second copy, but I do cut I would never cut the first. I would never cut the second copy, yeah, but I do often shave the first one in most matchups, and people ask me about that. They say, if you're always cutting Past in Flames post-board, why would you play 2 in Game 1? Well, Game 1s are just different than Game 2s. The opponent doesn't play cards like Leyline Void and Surgical Extraction and Grafdigger's Cage in Game 1 almost ever, so it's this card is always insane in Game 1, and then it loses tons of value in Game 2 if your opponent has one of those cards. It doesn't really do anything, and it can be hard to get Hellbent. It's bad if you don't try Volcanic Island, so. These aren't great sometimes because they can be hard to get Hellbent as well, and then you have to fetch out a non-basic, but I think that them being able to kill a Delver or a lock piece and being uncounterable makes them good enough. Yeah, this hand's good. It assembles the combo, which is Island Swamp, so, and it does that through a Stifle, so I'm into this. It's obviously really slow, but like I said, Delver's generally pretty slow. If they have turn 1 Delver, they're a little faster, but I'm going to go ahead and fetch a Swamp on turn 1 to play around Stifle. Not everyone plays it, but some people do. And I'm just not going to cast anything. I think one of the ways that you beat Delver is that you just don't make their cards into cards. And we have so many lands in our hand that we can certainly afford to play around Daze this game. So I'm interested in doing so. Although I'm pretty likely to Thoughtseize my opponent on the next turn. Maybe. They did not flip Delver. Okay. Waterlog Grove. It's a combo with Ren and 6. Pretty cool. I've seen people also play Fiery Islet and Lonely Sandbar. I'm not sure really. I kind of understand the pros and cons of each, but I'm going to play this lowest spell here to play around Spell Pierce to some degree. And then I'm just going to Thoughtseize my opponent. I don't mind casting the first discard spell against Delver because they have lots of conditional counterspells like Pyroblast and Spell Pierce and Daze. And I normally would want to save a counterspell for my combo turn, but I think it's good to know exactly what you're working against. So do I want to take Pyroblast or do I want to take Force of Negation here? I think with 2 cantrips it's reasonable to take Pyroblast. Because I'm pretty likely to find another discard spell. It's obviously going to feel really bad if I don't ever draw another discard spell, but I did, so. We'll do it like this in case they Surgical or Thoughtseizes. It's also bad if our opponent draws another counterspell. Yeah, they drew like a Flusterstorm. So now we need to find 2 Thoughtseizes, and we're kind of in this awkward position. But, or 2 a Duress also. But I think we're still doing okay. We have 2 Brainstorms, so that's always fine. They might just be tapping out for True Nemesis here, which would mean that we could win this turn. I think I probably would have saved that as my pitch card for Force of Negation plus having Flusterstorm up, because I think just having the 1 Delver and cycling a Waterlog Grove is probably good enough, but I don't think this is necessarily incorrect, because it makes their clock at least a full turn faster, so. Well, that's not exactly what we wanted to see. Okie dokie. Do it like this. Now we're in a bit of a tougher spot. I think I have to Thoughtseize their Flusterstorm at this point. Just to save mana. And they can leave up Force of Negation, but Brainstorming into 3 lands is definitely a pretty bad spot to be. I could have fetched first because I knew 1 land was on top, but I think that's incorrect to do. Especially with a second Brainstorm. So this Brainstorm needs to be really good for us because we are dead on board now. It needs to be Duress plus Infernal Tutor. Plus like an LED. We'll see. I also want to avoid fetching if possible. They might just Force Negation this. Yeah, I can't beat that, so. What would have that Brainstorm been? No, we would have lost anyways. Anyways, I would have fetched first, but. Okay, so. We kind of bricked off, and our opponent had a reasonably fast clock. We just couldn't beat them attacking with creatures that game. Which happens. So this hand is missing a second land, but we have a Ponder to try and find it, and it's pretty strong otherwise, so. I'm going to go ahead and fetch for a basic island here. I think that we're likely to need to find a second land to win this game anyways, and so I like hedging against the first Wasteland. It does suck if we don't ever draw a Black Source and just can't win the game, but I think that it's correct to make this play. Because, we play a lot of cards that can find basic Swamp, so. Or we could just draw an Underground Sea, and then if we were going to find exactly Underground Sea, it's better, but this also lets us cast another Ponder this turn, so. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe it was wrong to take that Power Blast that game, but we got pretty punished by our opponent flipping Delver to Force Flusterstorm. And then our two cantrips, our Ponder plus our Brainstorm, didn't really find as much. I mean, I kept the Ponder because it found another Brainstorm, so maybe I'm supposed to shuffle that. But I think it also found a Thoughtseize, and it was my thought process, but I'm sure there's things I could have done a little differently that game. Our opponent chooses to no shuffle. Okay. So I imagine this Ponder's not going to resolve. They probably have a daze or something. That's a little bad for us, but... Oh, it did. So we're going to shuffle this, unfortunately, even though the Lotus Petal is a black source. I usually pretty aggressively counter cantrips against Storm. Null Rod. Okay, well that's good against Lotus Petal. So now we really need to find our basic swamp. That's not it. Alright, we're gonna try and brainstorm here. Okay, that's not basic swamp, but it is something. So I think we can ditch an Infernal Theater here. And then we're gonna go ahead and use this to fetch away. It sucks that we can't get our red source here, but I think getting 2 black sources is more important. And then I'm just gonna throw out a Thoughtseize. If they're gonna counter this, I'd rather them counter the one that makes me lose life. Could also take like a Vendilion Click, could be relevant. Alright, I'm just gonna take Surgical Extraction because I think Surgical on Thoughtseize would be annoying enough this game, and that's a play that people do make sometimes. And they either have to play out their Delvers or hold up Brainstorm this game. There's Delver. So now that they don't have Wasteland, I'm kind of wishing that I would have fetched out of Volcanic Island and just waited, but I think I just needed to get 2 black sources here. We'll see. I'm taking a lot of damage here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, down to 8, so tutor Tendrils, so I guess +2, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I can deal 16 here, but I can't deal 20, or I can't deal 18. Now if my opponent counters, if they Brainstorm or Spell Snare, that changes the equation. But I think they're pretty unlikely to Spell Snare here. And I really want the Storm count if I brick, if they don't cast a counter spell. So I think I'm supposed to just pass here, but because otherwise I'm assuming my opponent's going to make a mistake. And they're going to obviously flip their Delvers here because they're going to Brainstorm. With 2 Brainstorms, I think this is correct. Because flipping 2 Delvers is pretty valuable. Because I think with 2 Brainstorms, they're pretty unlikely to Spell Snare me. Because they could just leave that, if, like, yeah. They're going to flip their Brainstorm, which I'm assuming is the one they already had, so. This Null Rod was good this game, definitely. They drew a Wasteland, so now we're in kind of a rough spot. Because that making us have 1 less mana is also relevant. Yeah. We're in a pickle for sure. Not exactly what we wanted to draw. So we're taking 6 next turn. I think I'm supposed to wait 1 more turn before trying to win the game. Bad against Lightning Bolt. Can't beat Lightning Bolt, but that's okay. Because I have to cast this Thoughtseize to get Hellbent. There's a Hex Drinker. Okay, that's not scary. Luckily. Right, let's Dark Ritual here to start. They're going to Brainstorm in response to this. Okay. So as long as one of our 2 Dark Rituals resolves, we are going to win. But that's an if, you know. We'll have to see. Because even like a Spell Pierce plus a Daze would get us since they have the Null Rod. This card is really good against Storm. It's one of the harder ones for Storm to beat, in my experience. It would have to be kind of beat Spell Pierce plus Snare, though, because or Daze, because we know they have the Snare. Yeah. Alright, so now we can Dark Ritual again. And then we can Duress them. Take their Spell Snare. We're gonna mana short here because the null rod. Yeah, we're in mana short because the null rod, unfortunately, because they countered our dark ritual. So I think maybe I was supposed to lead on duress here, in case they force will dark ritual. I didn't really stop to think about it because we have to cast this Thoughtseize. We can't get hellbound otherwise. Maybe our opponent will just concede. They didn't. Yeah, so I think I kind of screwed this one up, unfortunately. I think if I lead on duress, I win the game. Because I just duress their force of will and then win. Okay, well, 1-1 now. Can rally back. Be back for the next round.